Hello, beautiful, amazing soulmate. You're welcome back again to this YouTube channel. And if this is your first time here, you're highly welcome. Please do what to hit the subscribe button and also click on the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. So, have you been wondering how to draft, cut, and sew this trending waistcoat, or also called vest? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how to draft, cut, and sew this waistcoat or vest. And I will also, be dropping details or any little information you need to know about making a perfect vest or waistcoat for your client or for yourself. So if this is something you're interested in, then keep watching. Here are some of the items I'm making use of. I'm making use of this thick crepe material, and I got 2 yards of this for making both the shorts and also the waistcoat or vest. Yes, and if you're getting any material at all, I would advise you get a thick one, just majorly for the short purpose or the pants, whatever you're making for a trouser, whatever, just get a thick material for it. I'm also making use of this stay, and I have 1 yard here, and I'm making use of the buttons as well for this waistcoat or vest. So these are the items, and the measurements that will be used for this tutorial are all listed up there on the screen. So I'll be drafting on the pattern paper, but if you wish to draft directly on your fabric, no problem, no issue, you can go ahead and do that. But for me, I'm going to draft on the pattern paper. And if you do not have a pattern paper, you can make use of a newspaper or a cardboard paper or any large piece of paper that you can find to draft comfortably on. So like I earlier stated, I'll be drafting out the front pattern first, and the very first step in drafting is to come down from the beginning of your pattern paper by 1 inch like this. So this is to get the top line or the starting line, and this is our regular routine on this channel. So I'll go ahead and connect the dots together to get a straight line like this. Next is to create the button placket, and to do that I'll be going in from this side of the pattern paper, which is going to serve as the center front. I'll go in by 1 inch like this to get the button placket. So obviously you already know your vest or your waistcoat has the button on the front at the center front precisely. So the reason why I went in by 1 inch on this side of the pattern paper, which serves as the center front for this drafting. I hope you do understand. So right now I've brought in my rule to connect the dots to get a straight line. So now that I have this, it's time to go ahead and divide the shoulder measurement by 2 and mark it out. And my shoulder measurement is 16 inches. Divided by 2 gives me 8 inches. Now, if this were to be a top with sleeve, I'll go ahead and mark out the exact 8 inches. But since this vest is sleeveless, then I'll be subtracting 1 inch from my shoulder measurement. So meaning 8 inches minus 1, which is 7. So I'll go ahead and mark out 7 inches as my shoulder measurement. But if you also want to mark out your exact shoulder measurement, no problem. Just that your sleeveless is going to be a little wider, and that is also okay, depending on the kind of look you're going for. Now that this is done, the next step is to go ahead and mark out the armhole depth. And to get your armhole depth, you divide your round bust measurement by 6 plus 1.5. So my round bust measurement is 41. Divided by 6 plus 1.5 gives me 8.3. And that is what I just marked out here from the shoulder. So here I'm just marking out the shoulder measurement here again, which is 7 inches for me, just to make sure I get a straight line when connecting the armhole depth back to the shoulder. So right now I'll bring in my rule to connect the armhole depth to the shoulder like this. Moving on, the next step is to mark out the neck width. And for the neck width, I'm making use of the regular standard 3 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark out the 3 inches here. And from the shoulder, I'll come down by 1 inch like this. And I'll bring in my rule to connect the 1 inch to the neck width. This is just to get that shoulder slant or slope. You know our shoulder is quite slanted. The reason for this. So next, to get the chest line, I'm going to divide the round bust measurement by 4 and mark it out. So my round bust measurement is 41. Divided by 4 gives me 10.25. And that is what I'm marking out here. And I'll bring in my rule to connect this dot straight down. That is the 10.25 I just marked out straight down like this. And this line is referred to as the chest line. So right now it's time to get the armhole curve. So I'll get the midpoint from the shoulder slope to the chest line like this by folding over my tape or dividing whatever I get by 2, and I'll go ahead and mark it out like this. And from this midpoint, I'll come in by half an inch, which is 0.5 inch. Now you can decide to come in by 0.75 inch, which is mostly used for the front armhole. But for me, I just decided to come in by half an inch, and I'll go ahead and use my curve rule to connect the shoulder slope, the half an inch, and also the chest line together to get the armhole curve. So I decided to use this particular curve rule. You can make use of your ends or any type of curve rule. Just make sure you get a perfect armhole curve. So this is me making sure I have a perfect armhole curve, and I'm just blending here to make sure it's not sharp. Yeah, so that is it. So once this is sorted out, the next step is to mark out the bust point, which is from your shoulder to your nipple measurement. So the shoulder to my nipple measurement is 11 inches, and that is what I'm marking out, 11 inches. So go ahead and mark out your shoulder to your nipple measurement. And I'll bring in my rule to connect the dots to get a straight line like this. And this line is referred to as the bust point, which is BP. So next step is to go ahead and mark out your front waist length. So my front waist length is 17.5. That is from the shoulder to the front waist. For me, it is 17.5, and that is what I'm marking out here. And I'll go ahead and bring in my rule to connect this to get a straight line like this. And this is the waistline for the front. Next step, I'll go ahead and mark out the hip line. But before I do that, I need to extend this button placket so that it contains the hip line. So now that I've extended the button placket, I'll go ahead and come down from the waistline by 8 inches to get the hip line or hip depth. So go ahead and come down from your front waistline by 8 inches like this. Now this hip line is not that really relevant. It just serves as a guide for drafting out this pattern out, this particular design. So the reason for this hip line, it's just a guide. Next is to mark out how long you want this vest to be at the front. That is this pointy structures at the front. And for me, I'm coming down from the waistline by 5 inches. You can make use of 6 inches, but 6 inches should be the highest. You can even make use of 4 inches. As you can see in the pictures above, we have different lengths. So it depends on the look you're going for. So for me, I came down from the waistline by 5 inches, and that is okay for me. So this is the length I want for the front of the vest. So now that we have that, next is to divide the bust span measurement by 2 and mark it out. So my bust span measurement is, that's nipple to nipple measurement, is 8 inches. Divided by 2 is 4. So I'll go ahead and mark out 4 on the bust point here. On the waistline here, mark out 4 inches. Also on the vest length and on the hip line as well, like this. And I'll bring in my rule to connect all of these dots to get a straight line. So this is my dart line. Once this is done, I'll go ahead and mark out the regular normal dart intake, which is half an inch on this side of the waistline here, half an inch on this other side of the waistline. Then from the bust point, I'll come down by 1 inch like this. And from the hip line, I'll go up by 2 inches like this. And I'll go ahead to bring in my rule to connect all of these points together to get 2 triangles facing each other or lying on top of each other. So I'll connect the 1 inch that I came down with from the bust point to this half an inch, and I'll also connect the half an inch to the 2 inches. So this is how your regular normal dart intake or dart line looks like. So now that I have this, it's time to divide the round waist measurement by 4 and mark it out, and I will add the 1 inch for the dart intake. So my round waist measurement is 33 divided by 4 gives me 8.25. 8.25 plus this 1 inch here for the dart intake here. Please take note of how I'm placing the tape. So plus this 1 inch for the dart intake gives me 9.25. So I'll go ahead and mark out the 9.25. So you can see all my measurement is starting from this line. So that is it. So I've marked out the 9.25, and I'll connect this to the bust measurements like this. Then on the hip line, I'll go ahead and divide the round hip measurement by 4 and mark it out. So my round hip measurement is 43 divided by 4 gives me 10.75. And that is what I've gone ahead to, mark out here. And I'll connect this to the waist like this. Next is to determine how long you want the vest to be at the side, and as you can see from the various picture, the side length is different from the front length. So for me, I came down from the waistline by 2.5 inch on the side here. You can make use of 3 inches or 4 inches. So I came down by 2.5 inch and I'll connect this 2.5 inch to the dart line. Now please pay close attention. If you do not want the pointed designs at the front to be this wide apart like mine, then you can, go out from the dart line by 1 inch. Yes, by 1 inch or 1.5. But take note that the more you go out from the dart line, the lesser space between the two pointed designs. I hope you understand. So for me, I'm going to maintain the dart line. That's how much space I want between the two pointy designs. So I'll go ahead and connect from the 2.5 inch to the dart line like this. Then next, from the dart line, I'll go ahead and connect into the button placket. Now, if you came out by 1 inch, meaning you connect from the side length to the 1 inch, yes, and then from that 1 inch, you connect into the button placket. Since for me, I am maintaining this dart line, I will connect from the dart line into the button placket. So you can make use of the straight part of the roll, but for me, I want to make use of this curved part of the roll while connecting, because I just want this part to have a very slight curve. So I'm just making sure I get the very minimal slight curve, yes, while connecting into the bottom placket like this. Meaning I came down from the waistline here by 1.5 inches, as you can see, and to me this is quite too high because it's going to reveal your navel. So to be on the safer side, come down by 2 inches here or 2.5 inches from your waistline here. Do not come down by 1.5 inch. Come down by either 2 inches or 2.5 inch and connect like that. So that is it. I hope you understand. So this is where the buttons are going to be on the vest. Next is to mark out the neck depth. That is how deep you want the neckline to be. And looking at it, you can see most of this vest has a deep V neckline. So you can make use of 8 inches for the neck depth or 9 inches. So for me, I marked out 9 inches like this. If you want it more deeper, you can get the midpoint between your chest line and your bust point and make use of that. But I think that is extremely deep. So 8 inches is modest and 9 inches is a bit modest. So I made use of 9 inches and I'm connecting the neck width to the neck depth like this. So I'm connecting like this into the button placket like so, as you can see. So this is what we have. Now, this vest has a princess style line, and to get the princess style line, you need to mark out the bust dart. And to get the bust dart, you subtract your front waist length from your back waist length. So my front waist length is 17.5 and my back waist length is 14 inches. 17.5 minus 14 inches gives me 3.5, and that is what I'm marking out at the side here. This is how you get your bust dart. So I'll connect from this 3.5 here on the side to the bust points like this. So this is my bust dart. So next is to go ahead and mark out the princess style line from the midpoint of the armhole like this straight to the bust points like so. I hope you understand. So this is us creating the princess style line for this vest. So next, from the midpoint here, I'll go down by 1 inch like this, and I'll connect this 1 inch back to the bust point like so. Now, if I am to cut and sew this part of the princess dart on fabric like this, I will end up with an uneven armhole. As you can see, an uneven armhole. So I have to correct this on the pattern paper by bringing out my curve rule to trace this to the chest line back. So I'll bring in my curve rule. Please watch, you close this part of the princess dart like this, and then you place your curve rule like this. Yeah, and then you trace this upper part of the armhole curve back to the chest line like this to make the armhole even, like this. Can you see it? So when you open it, you have something like this. So I'm just going to extend this line here. So I'll be cutting this part out, obviously. And now that I've corrected this part here, when I get to stitch it up on fabric, it's going to be equal armhole. So that is it for that. Next is on the neckline. Now, because this is a very deep V neckline, there is every tendency that it might not relax properly on the neckline. There might be some excess space, and that is what we call gaping. So we have to avoid that, and to eliminate that, you have to get the midpoint of your neckline like this, and then you connect from that midpoint to the bust point like this. So I'll go ahead and connect from the bust point to the midpoint on the neckline like this, and then I'll go ahead and come in by ½ an inch here on the neckline like so, and then I'll connect this back to the bust point. So ½ an inch here please, and I'll connect to the bust point like so. So with this being done, meaning the neckline is going to relax well. No matter how deep it is, it will relax well with no excess around the neckline. So this is the bust dart, and this will be our next focus. But before that, we have a few things to do. For the side length, I decided to make it a whole number, which is 3 inches instead of 2.5. So meaning from the waistline at the side, I came down by 3 inches. So you can make yours 4 inches or 3 inches at the side lengths. Then I reconnected back to the dart line. And for the neckline, you have to close up the gaping like this. Please watch. You pinch one part of the gaping line and place it on the other part like this, on the other line like this, to close it up. And then you can see that the neckline is not equal, so you have to correct that by tracing it back like this. So next is to close up the bust dart here. So to do that, I have to cut out this part of the pattern paper that I do not need. So please watch the way I'm cutting it out. Please pay close attention. Yeah. And I'll also open the dart line to the bust point, Then I'll cut out these other parts. You can see I left little space at the side of the pattern. Then I'll go ahead and close up the bust dart by pinching this part of the dart line and placing it on the other dart line like this. So I'll bring in my tape to seal this up like this. So with this, I've closed up the bust dart, and after closing up the bust dart, I have to eliminate this pointiness here by using my curve rule to blend it like this. So I'll use my curve rule to blend this point here to this other dart here, just to remove that pointy stuff there. So after doing this side, you can see that the side is also not equal, so I have to make it equal by connecting from the waist straight to the bust like this. So that is how you make it equal. So at this point, the pattern paper is ready, the front pattern is ready precisely. So I'm cutting out the darts, as you can see, cutting out the side here, as you can see. Please watch. So this is out. So this is piece 1 and this is piece 2. You have to indicate. So you cut out the darts, cut out the armhole, the shoulder like this, cut out this point here. Please make sure you use your paper tape on this gaping on the neckline to seal it up. Yeah, and then I'll go ahead and cut out the neckline like this. So you can see the front pattern is ready. Hooray! So here I'll be leaving ½ inch here, ½ inch here, ½ inch here, half inch here for sewing allowance all around. Then here half inch side, I'll be leaving 1 inch at the side seam. Yeah, so I'll be leaving 1 inch for the side seam, and at the hem here half an inch. So right now it's time to draft out the back pattern, and as usual I'll come down by 1 inch from the beginning of my pattern paper like this. Then I'll bring in my rule to connect all the dots to get a straight line like so. So once this is done, the next step is to divide the shoulder measurement by 2 and mark it out, and remember to subtract 1 inch since this is sleeveless. So I'm marking out the same 7 inches I marked on the front pattern, and for the neck width I marked out 3 inches and neck depth 1 inch. Take note that 1 inch is the standard back neck depth for every individual, so I'm connecting the neck width to the neck depth. Next is to mark out the armhole depth, which for me it is 8.3 inches. That is your round bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5. So here I'm marking out the shoulder measurement here to make sure I get a straight line when connecting the armhole depth straight to the shoulder like this. Next is to come down from the shoulder by 1 inch here from the shoulder, and then I'll connect this to the neck width just to get that shoulder slant or slope. Next, I'll divide the round bust measurement by 4 and mark it out, and for me it is 10.25, and that is what I'm marking out here. And I'll bring in my rule to connect from that 10.25 that I marked out straight down. So this is the chest line. Next is to get the armhole curve. I'll place my tape from the shoulder slope to the chest line and fold it over, or whatever you get, you divide it by 2 and mark it out. And from the midpoint you go in by half an inch like this, and you're going to connect these 3 points together to get your armhole curve like this. Okay, now that this is sorted out, the next thing is to mark out your back waist length. So for me, like I earlier stated, my back waist length is 14 inches, and that is what I am marking out right now. And I'll bring in my rule to connect the dots to get a straight line like this. And this is my back waist length. Next is to go ahead and mark out the hip line, and obviously the hip line I'm working with is 8 inches. That is what I marked out on the front pattern. So from the waistline I'm coming down by 8 inches, so go ahead and come down by 8 inches. As you saw on the front pattern, is just the guideline to drafting out the pattern, not like a thief. It is important. So I'll go ahead and connect the dots to get a straight line like this, and this line is the hip line. Next is to do the back tightening. For the back tightening, you go in by 0.75 on the waistline, and you connect this to the neckline and to the hip line. This is to make sure that there is no form of bulging on the center back, that this vest relaxes well on your back, you know, just to give it that nice center back contour. Next is to mark out the dart line, and you mark out your bust span measurement after dividing by 2. So mine is 4. I've marked that out on the waistline. Now if I'm to mark out the same 4 inches on the chest line here, you can see that I would end up with a slanted line. So I do not want a slanted dart line. So for that reason, I'll be adding the back tightening to the 4 inches, making it 4.75. So I marked out 4.75 on the chest line and on the hip line, and I'll go ahead and connect these dots to get a straight line. So I hope you do understand. I've explained this several times on most of my videos. So on the waistline, I went in and out by half an inch on both sides, and then I came up by 2 inches from the hip line like this, and I'm going to go ahead and connect this half an inch both sides to the chest line like this, and I'll also connect the half an inch on both sides of the waistline to the 2 inches above the waist hip line like this. Next is to divide the round waist measurement by 4 and mark it out. So my round waist measurement divided by 4 gives me 8.25, plus the 1 inch for that intake gives me 9.25, and I'll connect this to the bust measurement like this. Then on the hip line, I'm going to divide my round hip measurement by 4, which is 10.75 for me, and I've marked that out, and I'll connect that to the waist measurement like this. Next step is to mark out the side length, and obviously I made use of 3 inches for the front side length. So that is what I marked out on the side of the back pattern and also on the center back of the back pattern. And you can go ahead and connect this with the straight part of your row, but for me, I want to connect it with the slight curve. I just want it to have a slight curve. I think I have something for slight curve, right? So I just want to connect it with a slight curve like this. So this is the waistcoat length or the vest length. Now I want this back pattern to be one whole piece. I don't want to cut it into two. And for that single reason, I'm going to make the dart intake on the vest length to be half an inch on both sides. That is half an inch from the dart line like this on both sides. And I'll go ahead and connect from the waist down to the half an inch here, from the waist down to the half an inch here. So you can see what we have here. So if you wish, you can get to, draw a princess style line like this on the back pattern, just the style line. You just draw the style line from the armhole midpoint. But just know, if you draw a princess style line for your back pattern, you have to cut out the darts. You will have to cut out the darts, making your back pattern 2-piece. So for me, I just want it one whole piece, reason for making my dart like this. So this is me cutting out my back pattern, as you can see. So please watch. So my back pattern is ready, and for the sewing allowance, I'll be leaving half an inch here, half an inch at the end, half an inch on the neckline, half an inch here, half an inch here, and 1 inch at the side seam. So I'll go ahead and use the patterns, the front and the back patterns, to cut out the fabric and the lining. So please watch. Moving on, I've cut out the front fabric using the front pattern, as you can see, and I made use of the crepe material as both the main fabric and the lining. And so whatever fabric you're using, make sure you use it as both the main fabric and the lining for your front pattern. So I'll be notching this point, the bust point and the waistline here. I'll be notching it small, giving it a little snip, a very little snip. This makes it easier when joining this piece together. It makes it easier. It makes the sewing easier for you. So just give those points a little snip the way you saw me doing. I have also gone ahead to use the back pattern to cut out the back fabric. So I'll go ahead and snip the dart legs here, little snips. I also snip the waistline, little snips, and also on the chest line, little snip. This is to make sewing easier. And please take note that I made use of the back pattern to cut only the main fabric for the back pattern. So if you wish, you can also use the back pattern to cut out a whole suit lining for the back as well. But for me, I want the lining to be stylish at the back as well. So to do that, I'm just going to mark 3 inches around the neckline like this. So if you don't want to do this, you can just skip this part and use this back pattern like this to cut out your suit lining. But for me, I want a stylish lining. So the reason for this, so I marked 3 inches round like this, and I'm using my curve rule to connect the dots to get this nice curve like this. So what I want to do with this is I'll go ahead and bring in my scissors to cut this out. So please watch. So after cutting this out like this, when cutting this part on fabric, here is going to be on fold, and here half an inch, and for this other parts, half an inch here, half an inch here. So for this part of the back pattern, I'll use a crepe material, and for this I'll use the suit lining. So I'll go ahead and cut that and show you. So this is what I'm talking about. So this is the crepe material, and this is the suit lining, as you can see. And you can see here is on fold, and for the rest I left half an inch allowance, except for the side, which is 1 inch. So I have my front patterns here, which I've gone ahead to iron stay to the main fabric, and I'm removing the pattern papers and the linings and keeping them aside. So this is piece 2. I've removed the pattern paper and the lining as well. So I'll go ahead and open up the piece 1 like this of the front pattern, and I'll bring in the piece 2 and place it like this on both sides. So it's time to close up the dart. So when closing it up, I'll make sure the bust points of the piece 1 and the piece 2 matches each other. Same with the waistline. I'll make sure the waistline of the piece 1 and piece 2 matches each other, and I'll use my pin to hold it in place. So that way it's, easier to sew, close up the dart using half an inch. So you see why the snip is quite important. It helps you indicate the bust points on both parts. So I'll go ahead and do that and show you guys later. So this is the back pattern, and the first thing you would want to do is also iron ST on the main fabric of your back pattern, and then you go ahead and close up the center back. So make sure the right sides of your center back are facing each other, and then you close up the center back using half an inch. Then you go ahead and take the dart legs that you snipped and close up the dart. You also make use of your back pattern, the dart on your back pattern, as your guide to get the length of your dart. You understand? Then you close up the darts like this, and you do the same thing on the other part of your back pattern as well. Then for the lining piece of your back pattern, the suit lining, I went ahead to close up the center back using half an inch allowance. Please take note that when closing the side seam, make use of half an inch allowance to close up the side seam, because this vest does not have to be tight. It has to have some form of ease around your body. So close up the side seam with half an inch and leave the other half an inch for ease. So right now it's time to attach this part of the lining to the suit lining, and make sure the right sides are facing each other while closing up this curved part using half an inch. And make sure to iron ST on the crepe part of the lining. So I'll also go ahead and close up the dart legs using the snipped dart legs on my lining as a guide, and also using my pattern paper as a guide. So I'll go ahead and do that and come back and show you guys. So this is it, guys. I have closed up the center back, as you can see, and I have closed up the dart legs as well, and I have joined this other part of the lining to the suit lining, and you can see the way I pressed it open, and you can see how stylish this lining is looking. And now this is the front pattern of the main fabric after closing up the darts. So I also closed up the dart for the lining as well. So at this point, if you want to sew in a weft pocket, you can go ahead and sew in a weft pocket before proceeding to the next stage. So for me, I don't fancy the weft pocket in the vest or waistcoats. It's not my thing, so I didn't bother about sewing in the weft pocket. So if you wish, you can go ahead and sew in the weft pocket at this point. So this is the back pattern, the main fabric. I've closed up the center back, closed up the darts, and I've ironed as well. So I'll bring in the front patterns and place them like this, making sure that the right sides are facing each other like this. So also please make sure you iron. When ironing, open the seam to iron so your vest lays flat, so it's not bulky, and then you place the front pattern after ironing. You can see the way I open the seams to iron. So place the front patterns like this on the back patterns with the right sides facing each other, and close up the sides and the shoulder with half an inch. Also do the same thing to the lining as well. Place the front pattern of the lining on the back pattern of the lining as well, like this, making sure the right sides are facing each other, and close up the sides and the shoulder using half an inch. So this is it. I've closed up the sides, I've closed up the shoulders using half an inch on both the fabric and the lining, as you can see. So right now it's time to join the lining to the main fabric, and as you can see, my main fabric is on the right side. So I'll go ahead and place the lining on the main fabric, making sure the right side of the lining is facing the right side of the fabric, and I'll go ahead and close up one side of the armhole like this, making sure that the right side of the lining is facing the right side of the fabric while doing this. So once I've closed up one side of the armhole, I'm going to turn this vest to the right side like this. Please just watch so you understand every step of what is going on here. So as you can see, I'm arranging this to the right side, as you can see, to close up the other side of the armhole. So I'm just arranging it properly so you'd understand. So after closing up one side of the armhole like this is how you close up the other side of the armhole. So you go ahead and place it like this. Place the other side of the armhole like this, making sure the right sides are facing each other, and you stitch on the wrong side. So this way it's like as if the armholes are kissing each other with the right sides facing each other. So you do that and come back. So this is it, guys. So I've successfully closed up this other side of the armhole as well. So the next point is to go ahead and notch the center back of the neckline like this. So I've notched this, and now I can go ahead and flip this vest to the wrong side like this. So this is where it gets quite tricky, so please just watch. But once you're sewing it, you understand every step. So right now it's time to close the hem. So you place it together like this. Make sure you pin the center backs of the main fabric, and the center back of the lining should align. In short, every stitch point should align while stitching it. So you can see I've closed up the hem using 1/2 inch like this. Right now it's time to close up the remaining part, but before we do that, I have to bring in my pin, and then pin the center back of the lining to the center back of the main fabric. The center back of the lining, we had to notch it here. So you pin it to the center back of the main fabric like this. So I'll go ahead and pin it using my office pin like this, or whatever pin you have available. So you go ahead and pin it. This is going to be as a great guide. So right now I'll pull my hand through this side here, and I will bring out the center back that I just pinned together using that pin. So you can see what I have here. So I'm going to place it like this side, and I'll make sure that the necklines are aligned with each other like this. So you can see the V neckline, this part of the bottom placket. I'll make sure it aligns like this. So you should have something like this once you dig out the center back. Then you go ahead and close it up using 1/2 inch, and you stop at the center back. You stop on the center back. So this is it, guys. I've closed it up using 1/2 inch, close up the lining and the main fabric on this side using 1/2 inch. So I'll go ahead and bring it out from the other side as well, back to normal. And I will also put my hand through this open space here and drag out the center back like this. And while you're doing this, you can see that the pin serves as a great guide. So right now, go ahead and pin every important point together. Pin the shoulder of the main fabric and of the lining together. Pin this point of the bottom placket, the V-neck together. Just close up the main fabric and the lining. Yeah, using 1/2 inch. So this is it. I've closed up the main fabric and the lining. Yeah, on both sides and at the hem as well. So right now, I'll flip this over to the lining part, and I will open up the center back. So if you don't have your seam ripper, you can make use of your razor blade, but just be very careful so you don't cut into the lining. So open about 2 inches space on the center back, and then pull everything out to the right side through that space on the center back. So I'll go ahead and iron this, and this is what I have. You can see how beautiful this is looking. You can see the lining is looking pink. It's looking stylish. So this is it, as you can see. So this is it, guys. And if this video was helpful to you and you enjoyed this video and you're yet to hit the subscribe button, what are you waiting for? It's the subscribe button. So in putting the buttons, you just go ahead and place sew in your buttons like this. I'm going to sew in about 4 buttons, and then the button holes will be on the right side, and I will close up this center back using my needle and thread to sew up an invisible stitch. I'll do an invisible stitch right there. So guys, that is it. We've come towards the end of this video. So if you want to see, I made a short for this vest, yes, as you can see, and the short had an elastic waist with pockets on both sides. So if you want to see how to make a perfect short for your client or for yourself, then do well to click on the link on the description box that will lead you straight to that video. So like I earlier stated, if you are yet to hit the subscribe button, my guy, what are you waiting for? And you enjoyed this video, please hit on the subscribe button. That is your way of supporting this channel, supporting me. So also don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as well. So see you on my next video. Love ya. Mwah.